Welcome to TOMMO'S Race CHINWAG, a chat, a natter, a conversation, all things Formula One. Join me live on YouTube or after the fact on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as we get into the meat and bones of this wonderful, frustrating, exhilarating sport we know and love. My name's Tommo, let's talk about it. Oi, Savaloys, how are you all doing? Welcome back to TOMMO'S Race CHINWAG. My name is Tommo and it is the 2026 Austrian Grand Prix this weekend. It's good to be back. It's good to be live on YouTube, Brom. Coty, Katie's, Tushar, Tina, Kappa, Powell, Sam, and the rest of you. Appreciate you all taking the time. It is 8:58 in the morning UK time because it is heat wave. It's going to be 34 degrees Celsius. Don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit doesn't make any sense to me. So there you go, Americans. Explain it to me in the comments down below, please. Yeah, it's roasting. So we're going early doors. We're going to get this one signed, sealed, and delivered, and talk about one of my favourite weekends of the year, and maybe contentious, maybe controversial for me to say. I'm sad that this isn't a sprint weekend because I think Austria is the best sprint and they took it away from us. I've mentioned this a few times before. I was lucky enough to go to Austria in 2023. That was a sprint weekend. Remember in the sprint race where Checo kind of squeezed Max at the start and then Max kind of got his own back. That was a really fun weekend. Like, it's a great venue to watch F1 cars go around at. Unbelievable. It's the middle of nowhere, so a bit of a nightmare to get to. Wouldn't recommend going back and forth from Vienna 2 hours each way on both days. 4 hours traveling plus all the walking. It was a lot, but I'm not complaining. It was an absolute vibe. Would absolutely recommend if you can do a European Grand Prix and you're thinking which ones to go for. Obviously, Silverstone's always cool and interesting, but actually I would say Austria is my favourite of the European Grand Prix to visit. So check it out if you can. This time out, though, we are back in the beautiful Styrian mountains of Spielberg to watch, hopefully, some very, very good, interesting racing. Now, of course, we've had a week off, and that is a long time in modern F1. We are allegedly, apparently, reportedly going to be seeing a lot of changes to cars this weekend. Potentially Ferrari's first Aduo power unit upgrade as well, which is very, very, very interesting. It's a short circuit, is Austria, which means it may be, well, I mean, track limits is obviously a key factor. It always tends to be around here. The margins, though, are very small. It's a very short lap, only 4.33 kilometers, 71 laps on the board. And look at those temperatures. We're in the 30s Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and this heat wave doesn't seem to be going anywhere. So I expect it, if anything, to be even higher than that. In Europe, it's been like, I think it's going to be like 40 degrees in Paris or something ridiculous. So yeah, the heat is no joke, and that is going to play havoc with these F1 cars, some more than others. And we are on the softest of the Pirelli compound ranges, C3, C4, C5. Majority last year were two-stopping on these same compounds, but it will be that bit hotter. The air is thin as well, which is interesting. Something I'd never really considered, but I was reading an article from John Noble this morning while I was on the toilet, actually. TMI, but there you go. And he was talking about, actually, yeah, not obviously to the extent of Mexico, but you are still at elevation, which will, affect these engines somewhat for the first time really this season. We're seeing the engines kind of factor in. So look, you don't know how that's going to impact your deployment from a battery point of view, and also the internal combustion engine performance is more of a known quantity, I guess. But again, slightly thinner air, very hot temperatures, keeping your battery cool, keeping your car cool is going to be incredibly challenging this weekend. So we'll see. This could be another race of attrition. I would not be surprised. If, like in Barcelona, where, how many cars? Like 8 cars retired, wasn't it, in the end? We see similar numbers this weekend, which could pose an opportunity for Cadillac, for Aston Martin, for those towards the back. You never know. Thank you, Ratchet, for the super chat. Much appreciated. What is considered too hot to race for health? So there's been, what was it? When we had a few years ago, wasn't it, in Qatar, when like Logan had to stop because you just couldn't carry on, and other drivers were talking about feeling a bit faint, and then they introduced some changes, didn't they? So they've got more airflow into the cabin where the drivers are. And I mean, I think some drivers choose. I mean, Lando, I don't know if he still does it, but Lando doesn't drink during the race. So that is kind of a choice. Obviously, there are the cooling vests that as well they introduced, not just prior to the race, but also they have the actual cooling vest that the drivers can wear during the Grand Prix as well. That was again after Qatar. That was part of the changes that were made. So yeah, I guess that's kind of, those are the things that have been put in place to help. I mean, part of the issue in Qatar, it's not just the temperature number, it's the humidity as well. That's why Singapore's always such a killer to these drivers, you know. It's tough, but I would expect it's going to be okay from that point of view. It's certainly not going to be easy for the drivers this weekend, but I don't think it's going to be quite as challenging as a really hot, humid Singapore or Qatar or the rest. So, yeah, I mean, look, I think Red Bull Ring's a fantastic circuit. It's very simple. It's like a big karting track. It is, of course, the home of Red Bull as well. Hence why it's called the Red Bull Ring, funnily enough. I don't know why turn 3's. Turn 2 is just... If you're watching, you can see the track map. And turn 2 is a kink at best to the left. It feels wrong calling turn 3 because it is turn 2 for all intents and purposes. But yeah, you've got a good, it's funny for such a short, simple circuit. It does kind of give a little bit of everything in terms of challenge to your car. Again, the exit of turn 3, very important traction zone, and because the run into turn 4 is where a lot of overtakes get done, but 3 and 4 are both fantastic overtaking opportunities, and the only real overtaking opportunities on the track, but that's plenty, right? Because again, there's not many corners on this circuit. That's just fine. But you've got good medium high speed as well. 6 and 7 don't. That's another reason. Say when I was sat at turn 3, and when you're looking from turn 3 down the hill to turn 1, that's amazing. But also you can see the cars going through 6, 7, 8, and towards 9, which is a fantastic spot to watch F1 cars. So again, would thoroughly recommend. But yeah, track limit's going to be order of the day. Absolutely at turn 10. Exit of 9 onto 10, you see a lot of cars getting dinged there. And of course, turn 1 as well is a notorious track limit corner. If you play the F1 game, you'll know all about that. So hopefully, look, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Any way in which you can use gravel to enforce track limits without having to enforce track limits, if you know what I mean. So I would much rather see, if a car goes wide, they don't get dinged, but they will lose performance and pace, and they'll pick up gravel on their tyres, which will affect the rest of their lap, right? That is the punishment. I don't think you need to do both. And we've spoken about this before, with certain corners on this track and many others where, you're running wide, you're hitting gravel, but then also you're getting a penalty, and I feel like it's a bit unnecessary. But there you go. We'll see how it goes this weekend. Hopefully track limits aren't too much of a talking point because track limits are also in quali, and we know how often, unfortunately too often, the stewards will not react in time, and drivers will drop out who shouldn't drop out of certain qualifying sessions. But we go again. Yes, Simon, it is 7 a.m. I know, right? Tell me about it. Crazy time. Right, okay, so 2025 recap then. Let's look back at what happened last year. First of all, pole position, Lando Norris by over half a second. This was a very good weekend for Lando last year. He runs very, very well around here as well. I would not be surprised at all if Lando has a fantastic weekend in Austria for sure. But turn 3, the chaos was arguably the biggest talking point of the weekend. Kimi Antonelli locking up on the inside and harpooning Max Verstappen on lap 1 and putting them both out of the race. Which, of course, look, reality doesn't work like this, but when Max comes up 2 points shy of the title, this is one of the instances people will look at and be like, that's what cost Max the title. In reality, the butterfly effect of Max finishing this race and maybe getting the points, you don't know how that would have changed things afterwards. But anyway, that's what happened last year. We also had a quality scrap between Lando and Oscar. Never over the line. Close from Oscar. He did have a lock up into 4, almost hit Lando, and that's where McLaren kind of pulled the handbrake on the battle between the two of them. Great scrap. Great scrap. Lando held on though, did a fantastic defensive job, and one of Lando's better wheel-to-wheel performances for sure, because I've always said, I rate Oscar over Lando. Wheel-to-wheel, I rate Lando over Oscar over a lap. And in this instance, Lando's quality shone through and he converted a very, very impressive victory on the way, of course, to his first world title last season. Very good. Very, very good indeed. So, quali head-to-head. Shall we reflect on how things have gone so far this season? So, again, these numbers are going to increase and decrease over the course of the year as we average out the qualifying gap between teammates over the course of the season. We have had 10 qualifying sessions so far this year, 7 normal, 3 sprint, and these are the average gaps. The biggest gap on average is just under half a second. 0.494 between Alonso and Stroll. Fernando doing an absolute demolition job on Lance for sure. Although Lance did finally out-qualify Fernando last race, didn't he? Last time out. So that's something. Then we have Sainz Albon. Ouch. 0.328. Verstappen Hadjar, 0.305. Lawson Lindblad, 0.252. Perez Bottas, 0.220. Behrman Ocon 186, Hulkenberg Bortoletto 162, Gasly Collar Pinto 127, Anthony Russell 068, Leclerc Hamilton 036, and Norris Piastri 023. There are some arrows on screen as well. They're just referencing the most recent change relative, right? So again, Stroll out qualified Alonso. So even though it's the biggest gap, there's a green downward arrow because Stroll closed that gap. Whereas Sainz Albon, Sainz did more than 328 on Albon last time out, so that average has gone up. Hence the red upwards arrow. There you go. Not that important for now, but post-race, when you do post-race CHINWAG, this will be much more relevant. So there we have it. And then, of course, the Drivers' Championship. Let's remind ourselves where we sit, where Kimi still has a pretty decent lead. A lot of racing still to go. We don't know how many rounds we'll get this season. Of course, with Bahrain and Saudi being cancelled earlier on in the year, will we get 24 rounds? Maybe Silverstone have offered to do an extra round. Maybe later in the year, we could go back to Bahrain and Saudi, like possibly. I wouldn't be surprised if that is viable. But again, it's like a commercial thing and fitting it into the calendar. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, 156 Antonelli, 115 Hamilton, 106 Russell, 75 Leclerc. As things stand, it's a Mercedes-Ferrari title fight, really, isn't it? Because Mercedes have started the season well, but now Ferrari seems to be really running on some momentum. And again, with a possible engine upgrade this weekend, that can only help matters. Surely. Other than that, I mean, no big kind of, again, I can't believe Hulkenberg's still not got a point. That's actually crazy. How has Hulkenberg not got a point, but Alonso has one? That's barbaric. And that just shows that actually these numbers, they do define where you finish. But in terms of communicating accurately how the season has gone, given that Hulkenberg's had what, 2, maybe 3 P11s? And then Alonso kind of lucks into one after Checo's grid penalty in Monaco is pretty barbaric. But there you go. Spent all his luck for the podium last year. Maybe Shan. Maybe he used up all his good luck to finally break the curse and get his podium at Silverstone. That was a great vibe, actually. I'm glad you've reminded me of that, Shan. That was a real good vibe. I enjoyed that a lot. So that's the Drivers' Championship, and the teams looks like this. Mercedes, of course, lead the way, 262, Ferrari 190, McLaren 141. Again, it seems to only really be a Mercedes-Ferrari title fight, and I expect the same in the constructors. I just think McLaren, you're asking too much of a McLaren to be able to bridge their knowledge deficit of this power unit where the battery component's so significant and there's a massive learning curve there. For them to bridge that enough, and then also Lando and Oscar outclass Russell and Antonelli enough as well. So I just think there's too many moving parts there. Whereas Ferrari seem to be on a very good thing as well, with a more reliable power unit for sure. And then, but also all of these positions matter. You know, that's what I like about the constructors, because drivers really like. You know, I'm not. Or Norris 73 points, Leclerc 75. Oh, big scrap for P4. Like, don't care. No one actually cares. Drivers don't actually care. But the teams championship, this is where your bread is buttered. This is where the money's made. So every single position matters. So the battle of the midfield, anyway. Alpine 57, Racing Bulls 41, Haas 21, Williams 11, Audi 2. Audi 2 points. It's just not representative of where their pace has been. They've been consistent Q2, top end Q2 as well of Audi. But I get a lot of things wrong, and it's on the internet, so you can prove it. You find the receipts of me being wrong many times. But when I'm right, I'm gonna sing it from the rooftops. I literally said going into this season, I predicted Audi to be down around there. I thought they'd be quick, but I thought they'd be unreliable because they've got no other cars running their engine. So they've got less data. Now, Mercedes, Ferrari, even Red Bull powertrains can crunch all the data from all their different customer teams, you know, to improve the engine for everyone. Audi don't have that. Neither do Aston Martin, Honda, of course, as well. And they are struggling for that and all. So, yeah, that's not representative. But I mean, you got to think Alpine probably have P5 sewn up, you'd think, but Racing Bulls, I don't know. I mean, again, no Aduo for Red Bull powertrains means that's one less factor they can benefit relative, whereas, you know, Alpine running Mercedes power unit will get an upgrade to their engines at one point this season. That's one thing I haven't actually seen clarified, and I don't know if I'm just being a bit dumb here. So with Aduo, and the rumours are this weekend, again, that Ferrari are going to bring their first upgrade. They're allowed 2 this season, 2 next year, because they've been deemed to be more than 4%, less than 6% behind on their power unit anyway. Sorry, not the power unit, their internal combustion engine. I keep getting it mixed up. With the customer teams, do they get, I guess they get the same spec engine given with the upgrade at the same time. So the reason I ask this is because, again, from the race, they were talking about potentially Ferrari this weekend will run their old engine, so their existing engine they've had all season, in FP1 and 2, but then in FP3 on Saturday, they will run their upgraded engine. Now, will Haas get that upgrade for their FP3 as well? Will Cadillac? I don't really know. I would have thought if you're gonna be allowed to do that, you have to bring the upgraded spec to your customer teams at the same time. But then again, like, will there be a learning curve for Haas and Cadillac to understand, right, this is our new power unit, or at least a new internal combustion engine, or Ferrari potentially can make their turbo a little bit bigger as well, and that's something that was mentioned by the race. So I don't really know. You would think so, as you say, Karan. I think they should. It's unfair. It's an unfair advantage otherwise. I would have thought so, but I've not seen kind of confirmation on that. And again, if you're going to introduce the new engine midway through a weekend to also, allow your customer teams to, they will have their own plans, Cadillac and Haas, and it will be the same for when Mercedes bring theirs, for McLaren, for Alpine, all that. It's one thing bringing an upgraded power unit, but then is there going to be a learning curve in understanding, or is it going to be just like operationally for the team, plug in the upgraded IS in is going to be operationally exactly the same? Like, I don't know. Because again, if we're talking about maybe Ferrari bumping up the size of their turbo, then that has a knock-on effect to your starts and all that as well. So that's something, again, the Haas and Cadillac are going to have to get on top of as well, which is kind of interesting. So I'm going to be more invested probably in FP1 and 2 than I am typically. Because typically it's kind of more background noise, to be honest, and I'll just kind of keep an eye on how things are going, whilst Finn is throwing up on me usually. And but this time I'll be a little bit more locked in, I think. So yeah, that's what the team's championship looks like. Gusset, parity rules, customer engines must be the same as the factory engines. Again, that makes sense, and I'm assuming that is the case. I've just not seen confirmation or not seen any real articles or dialogue about how Ferrari's upgrade will affect Cadillac and Haas. But I would like to see confirmation on that. Pantanal, sorry, completely messed up your name. Do you plan on going to any races this year? Yes, I do. That's all I'm saying. Because I don't know if I'm not allowed to say anything more than that. Secretive. Look at me. Right. Anyway, let's go bangers and clangers, shall we? Bosch, predictions for the 2026 Austrian Grand Prix. Starting off with pole position, and I've gone Max. I think with the touted, I cannot confirm, just because I do talking ball doesn't mean I have zero insight, okay? I've not got a direct line to Laurent Mekies. That it just doesn't work that way, okay? I literally just host the podcast. But there's reported pretty decent upgrades coming for Red Bull this weekend, getting a bit of weight off the car, all of that. I cannot confirm. I don't know. I haven't reading the reports like everyone else does. And obviously, it's Red Bull's home Grand Prix. I know this is a very important race to Red Bull. So if they're going to get upgrades on the car, then now's the time to bring them. Max has already shown with the previous spec car that he can get close to pole. He can get on the front row. And I think he's very good around Red Bull Ring, slightly upgraded Red Bull. I think he can make the difference and put it on pole. That's what I'm saying. Bosch, lovely jubbly, happy days. But what about you? Well, 670 of you voted. Thank you for making your predictions. Don't forget to subscribe to the Tommo YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, at Tommo McCluskey, where I will post these polls so you can get involved and give your opinion to the hive mind that is the community. So your prediction for pole position is Andrea Kimi Antonelli. 30% of the votes, 23% of the votes to George Russell, 13% Lewis Hamilton, and 12% to Max Verstappen. So you're still thinking over a lap, Mercedes with their, very good understanding of their battery and just very decent aerodynamic package are going to have enough to get it done. What concerns me about Mercedes this weekend is that they don't really go well in the hot temperatures. From a performance point of view, but also a reliability point of view. So that concerns me just generally this weekend for, Mercedes and, to be honest, all the Mercedes engined cars. But we will see how that pans out. So maybe I will be wrong. No Lando, no Tuchon, no Lando in the pole position, which again, McLaren's performance has been kind of up and down. If a McLaren's going to get pole, it's going to be Lando. Like, I'm very confident Lando will out-qualify Oscar this weekend, just because Lando's very, very good around here. But will that car be enough? The Papayans just aren't quite hitting this season. So, pole position, Kimi Antonelli for you. I went for Max Verstappen. Next, race winner. And I've gone with Lewis. I think that Lewis, with an Aduode car underneath him, I think will be able to find a way to win this race. I think that he's running, obviously, excellent momentum at the minute. I did consider, to be honest, originally, when I was kind of, going back and forth on these a little bit, I was like, do I go Leclerc? Because Leclerc is not going anywhere. Like, He's had a bit of a wobble, but I think... And does Lewis have horrible history in Austria? I mean, I think when you look over the course of his entire career, he doesn't. But, I mean, obviously, don't tell me about 2020 Austria. Albon, Hamilton, that one. I'll never forget, Lewis. I will never forget. I'll forgive, but I won't forget. Yeah, I think Lewis is running some serious momentum at the minute. Leclerc could, like, he will turn it around. He will stop the rot, and he will start outperforming Lewis every now and then at least. Is this the weekend? Maybe. The thing is, my predictions this year have been shocking. But I feel like every time I didn't predict Antonelli to win, he won, and then when I did predict him to win, he then broke down. So good luck. Sorry, Lewis, but the jinx has been set apparently. Yeah, I think Lewis can get it done this weekend. Absolutely, why not? Leclerc had that incredible race in 22 Austria. He did indeed. Again, Charles is very strong typically, but Charles is not vibing with the car underneath him, is he? He's not confident on the brakes. And when you look at the track map of Austria, you need to be confident on the brakes. Into turn 3, and especially into turn 4, because turn 4 is downhill. You've got to be so careful on the brakes. You see so many lockups, you see so many people run wide, and Charles' lack of confidence on the brakes really worries me for that corner in particular. But there you go. That's my prediction anyway. And yours is also Lewis. 28% of the vote. So a big jump. 13% if you put Lewis on pole. 28% if you say he's going to win the race. 24% Russell. 16%. That's not right. Oh, I really, I really thought we'd get to this point and I'll be like, I'm not going to mess up the graphics. I'm not going to mess them up. I got so far. I got so far. So you've actually said, right, okay, yeah. Okay, cool. I've completely messed that. I've completely messed that one up. Yeah, it's actually Antonelli, Russell, and then Leclerc for race win. So it's completely messed up. We go again. Next, right. Banger driver, I'm going Liam Lawson. I think Liam's been driving very well as of late. So why not? Why not again? I think the Racing Bulls is running well. I could absolutely see Liam getting into Q3. Potentially some Racing Bulls upgrades this weekend. I've not seen confirmation. I've seen conflicting, contrasting reports. So yeah, why not? Why not? I saw a lot of rumours on Twitter about Solov as well being lined up to jump into a Racing Bulls. Like, it's way too early. Like, way too early for Red Bull to make that kind of call. And Lawson's driving fantastically. So if Lawson found himself out of a seat, I'm very confident someone else would give him an opportunity, because I think he's shown that actually through all of the... He's very, very... what's the word? Chaotic start to his F1 career. Not just the whole being dropped from Red Bull thing, but just the years before that, filling in for Ricciardo, then jumping back out again, then jumping in, then jumping out, then Red Bull, then not. Like, that's... I don't think Lawson's losing his seat. And even if it wasn't at Red Bull next year, like, I'm very confident someone else would pick him up, because he is a peddler for sure. Your banger driver is Max Verstappen. 21% of the vote, 15% Hamilton, 15% Norris. So Norris is getting his flowers there. And 13% Leclerc for banger driver. Lovely jubbly. Happy days. Very good. Then we have Clanger. I've gone George. I think Mercedes, I'm not feeling Mercedes this weekend. I'm not vibing with Mercedes. And I don't know. I think George is at this point now where the potential is that he starts to overextend and overpush because he knows there's a big gap. He's got a big deficit here. Obviously, Kimi retiring helped him, but it's still a big gap. So I've gone George. I've not got much logic to go on, but I've got to go for someone. And you've gone with Kimi. 14% of the vote. Historically, it's already over for George. You're kind of right, Elijah. You are kind of right. 11% Ocon, 11% Leclerc, 10% Hajar for Clanger Drive. But Kimi once again tops yours, which again, in the same way that you feel like it's only a matter of time before Leclerc rediscovers his form, you've got to feel like it's only a matter of time before Kimi, and of course, I guess the retirement in Spain was that in a way, but obviously that wasn't a performance-related thing. It wasn't a mistake he made. As the season goes on, we'll see if he is able to keep up his good momentum at the moment. We will see. And then banger team, I've gone Red Bull. I think they're going to, again, pull out a decent upgrade. That's what the reports are suggesting. And give Max a car he can put on pole. Maybe not win the Grand Prix, but be up there and be competitive. And I think this could be their most competitive weekend of the year. I would not be surprised at all. So I'm going Red Bull banger team at their home Grand Prix. The titanium dioxide, Tomo. If you don't know about titanium dioxide and Andrea Kimi Antonelli, then look it up for yourself, all right? I'm not going to waste time talking about it here. So I've gone banger team Red Bull. You've gone Ferrari. 31% of the votes. Again, add your upgrade. Already looking good. Small turbo should work well around Austria with the traction, etc., etc. 17% Mercedes, 16%. I've messed that up again. What have I done here? What are the actual teams? It was Ferrari, it was McLaren, it was Red Bull, and it was Mercedes. Oh, sorry, I'm just an idiot. I had time as well. I had time. Anyway, Clanger team's Williams for me. It should just be Tommo at this stage. And your Clanger team is Aston Martin. Shock. 21% of the vote. This is correct. Definitely did this one properly. 16% Williams, 13% Haas, 12% Ferrari. Williams are overweight, and they just, you know, I've just lost all faith in the in the Williams project. To be honest, I have lost all faith entirely. This is what happens when you have children. I mean, Ajinkya, I was making mistakes on graphics way before Finn came into the world. So there you go. Although I always had Minton, so he's my third child. So there you go. Right. So predictions. That's what they look like. Lovely jubbly. Happy days. We both think Lewis is going to win the race, hence why that face is unmoved. Okay, right. Anything else to discuss? We've been live for 33 minutes. Let me actually quickly go. Just talking about power units. So, of course, starting with Red Bull powertrains, Ford. Again, they can't make any agile upgrades, so any performance they're going to add to the car has to come through aerodynamic innovation or battery improvements, I guess, they can make. So not really too much to talk about from that point of view. Mercedes, we don't know when they're planning on bringing their upgrade, but it certainly isn't this weekend. So yeah, I'm not expecting a move forward for them relative. What we are expecting a move forward relative is, of course, if I can find them in the graphics, there they are. Ferrari. Ferrari are, yeah, I mean, probably bringing an upgrade to their engine. That's the plan anyway. Who knows? Maybe things change and they can't bring it until Silverstone. It's not absolutely confirmed, but it's heavily suggested that the plan is to bring the agile upgrade for Austria. So yeah, that should really play into their hands, and we'll see if Lando was right. Lando obviously talked about, if Ferrari can upgrade their engine, they will embarrass everyone. Ferrari do get 2 upgrades, Alexine, you are correct, but yeah, obviously it's up to them when they deploy the upgrades. And like I said before, for Mercedes, they only get 1. So, do they hold off on it a little bit longer and try and eke a little bit more performance out of the upgrade, Mercedes, because they only get 1? That's a decision they have to make. Whereas Ferrari, they get 2, so they might as well just chuck on what they have now, and then they still can, reap the rewards of a second upgrade later on this year. So potentially quite ominous from a title point of view. Potentially quite ominous. We'll see. We will see. We know better than to get ahead of ourselves with Ferrari, don't we? We know much better than to get ahead of ourselves with Ferrari. This team above all else anyway. The Agile process is scuffed. Well, yeah, I mean that they've got they have this system in place for good reason. Teams potentially have found a way to, all right, we're going to prioritize, have Ferrari prioritized, working on their battery, working on their chassis, and allowed their their ice development to fall a little bit by the wayside, knowing that if our ice is a little bit down, we'll get an Aduo, maybe, in which case, you play to the rules, and it might be a little bit, spirit of the regulations, but there's no such thing really, is there? There really is no such thing. So we'll see. Right. So, and then of course also Audi, potentially Audi bring an upgrade as well to their engine. Of course, they also have 2 upgrades this year. So we'll see if they're able to move forward relative as well to the teams around them. And because the only other team around them competitively that's getting 2 upgrades to their engine is Haas. And obviously Cadillac, if they can catch up, which Cadillac potentially brings some upgrades this weekend. I just, again, really doesn't reflect their performance this week so far this season, Audi, which is a shame really, but plenty of sliding ATR wind tunnel time for them to continue to cook and improve on what they have already, because they do have a good car underneath them. I do believe that, Astadi just have to hold out till 2030. V8s will solve this scuffery potentially. I mean, again, because the battery is such a 46% of the power output is from the 350 kilowatt battery. Like, you can kind of mask a slightly weaker internal combustion engine, whereas Renault's internal combustion engine deficit might have been 15, 20, 30 brake horsepower, but you didn't have a big battery that you could use to kind of mask that lack of performance. So it is what it is. Right, okay, we've been live for 38 minutes. Chat, any last things to discuss that we haven't gone into that you would like to talk about? Again, thank you for getting to this point. If you have, don't forget to subscribe, comment, interact, like, engage. Also, by the way, a few of you ask why I don't leave the live chat replay up. I try, but YouTube won't let me. On the option on YouTube Studio, the live chat replay is just grayed out. It never used to be. I've not touched it. I've never turned it off manually. It just, I don't know. I don't know why. I've not really looked into it, but if anyone has an answer from YouTube, let me know in the comments down below. Stay hydrated. Very good. Very good, bro. Very good, bro. I stole Hannah's bottle just for the occasion. Thank you for reminding me. I'm to stay hydrated. You think Lewis can realistically beat Kimi for the title? Of course. And I think, like, Lewis has already shown, right, he is capable. Like, he's capable still to be competitive at the front. Like, he's already proven that. It's just whether Ferrari can deliver a package and he can remain confident in the package that they deliver to him, and Charles doesn't start being a bigger factor, knowing that actually there's a championship on here for Charles' first championship. Lewis has won 7. Charles never won 1. And so I think there's also a dynamic there potentially as well. Science to Audi. No, I think, Audi is still in the works. Look, Science, as long as Science keeps driving well, and he will always be in demand, I don't think Science needs to make that move right now, to be honest. And I think they've got a good thing with Hulkenberg, Bortoletto. I don't think Audi need to change things there. They're both delivering. So why would they? I think actually for Audi, again, consistent, reliable feedback from 2 drivers who have been part of the team from the start is more valuable to them than trying to get someone in to replace Nico like a Science who maybe offers a tiny little bit more upside, but also Hulkenberg's fantastic. So I think, yes, Science is really known for being a bit of an engineer, but I don't put down Hulkenberg. You know what I mean? That don't overlook Nico's, um, you know, performance from that point of view. Yes. Thoughts on hydration breaks in F1? Oh, Chris. Thoughts on hydration? Yeah, she would just pull into the pits after after a quarter of the race. Everyone put a little Stanley bottle through the halo. Go on, have a little glug. Right, off you go. Yeah, that's obviously hilarious. I just you would have thought at the World Cup it would be like, well, okay, we all know why. It's because of the adverts. But if they weren't considering advertising, you just think, well, if it's over a certain temperature, then it automatically triggers the need for hydration breaks. But whatever. Lewis Hamilton's title would be insane. It would. The vibes would be immaculate. Absolutely. Even his biggest haters, I think, would deep down enjoy it. Pantanal. How do you generally see the constructors' cars develop before the summer break? Yeah, I mean, quickly. I mean, we're at the start of a new regulation period, so teams, the lead times for a lot of components will be months, right? So the season started in March. So now we're at the time, well, hang on, we're in June now, late June. So changes that teams would have been able to kind of manufacture and design will be coming onto the cars now. And obviously the summer break is a really big opportunity to kind of really take everything you've got and have some time to kind of really cook, and think. So, yeah, I think all of these teams, their facilities are better than ever, and more capable than ever of producing components quickly. And that's where I expect a team like McLaren to do well. I expect a team like Red Bull to do well as well, because owning your processes, your facilities as much as you can only help. I think it's no coincidence that a team like Haas, where they do outsource a lot of the manufacturing of their components, fall a bit behind when they start the season well, but then fall behind as the season goes on. That mid-season ability to upgrade isn't quite so good. And when you own your processes, I think you get a lot more out of that, Thoughts on England? I thought Ghana put 11 players behind the ball, so that's always very difficult. I've seen a lot of people blame Tuchel, but actually I think Tuchel was like losing his mind on the touchline, trying to get the players to give and go a bit more. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I mean, it was a bit of a Southgate performance. At the end, we should have definitely scored, but there you go. It is what it is. Go on, England. What's your favourite summer food? My favourite summer food is, what do I like eating in the summer? I really like a original Magnum, and I eat all the chocolate first. I eat all of it first, like as much as I physically can, even the little bit on the bottom underneath the ice cream. All right, get under and give. And then I eat the ice cream. That's the best way of eating a Magnum. Okay, confirmed. Right, I'm going to wrap it now because it's already starting to get warm in here, and we've been live for 45 minutes. So thank you, Max, Addy, Ajinkya, Sugon, Matthew, Pyramids, Legendary Hawk, Connor, Pantanal, Smits, Dylan, Astadi, Plastic, Crazo. Appreciate you taking the time. Again, thank you for all the support. Means the world to me. Enables me to be a very present father to Finn, who I was feeding with a bottle this morning. He's started to smile now, which is actually like, don't. Literally. Like, he smiled for the first time like a week ago. Han sent me a video of him smiling. And then, like, when I was feeding him, he was like, he was here, and he was looking at me and just going like, it is actually too cute. I'm gonna cry because he's just. I'm an emotional wreck right now. Anyway, thank you all for taking the time. Appreciate it, and I'll see you for the post-race chinwag for the 2026 Austrian Grand Prix. My name's Tomo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da.